It's a Monday edition of Philadelphia Eagles Now. Welcome into the show, everybody. I hope all of you had an awesome weekend. Coming up here on the program, some breaking NFL news and how it impacts the Philadelphia Eagles during the 2026 offseason. But I want to begin here. New subscribers picked up this month in the month of February. Philadelphia Eagles Now, we've had a good month. 393 subscribers gained. The Cowboys report at 289. So we're beating the Cowboys report right now. It's always a rivalry inside the walls at Chat Sports as competition brings the best out of everybody. I want to further decimate the Cowboys because it's always Go Birds right here on the show. So hit that subscribe button for daily Eagles coverage right here on the program and lock us in today. A week from today, by the way, we'll be in Indianapolis for the 2026 NFL Scouting Combine. We'll speak with Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni. We have you covered every step of the way during what is a pivotal offseason for this franchise. Also on Friday, I said I'd give a shout out to everybody who purchased a Philly drinking team shirt to celebrate St. Patrick's Day in the lead up to St. Patty's Day, which is going to be here before we know it. And so here are the people since Friday who have purchased a Philly drinking team shirt. John G., Chris A., Bruno C., Phil A., Todd H., Emmett R., and Sean K. I'm not revealing these people's last names because I want to keep your privacy intact, but I'll show you this shirt right here. Philly Drinking Team, limited edition. Get your shirts now. I'll also pop up the link here at the bottom of your screen. Celebrate St. Patrick's Day and become a member of the Philly Drinking Team while repping the Birds. Chatsports.com/EaglesVDay. Chatsports.com/EaglesVDay. Get your shirts right now while supplies last, and you can celebrate St. Patrick's Day with us right here on the show. I'll put that link attached to the pinned comment of today's Philadelphia Eagles. Now, all right, a lot of breaking news across the NFL this morning, and a lot of it involves the Miami Dolphins, and that's going to be the purpose of today's show. So this new regime for Miami has come in, and they are already starting to clean house a week ahead of the NFL Combine, and they're making some serious moves. Miami hiring a new general manager. Miami also hiring a new head coach in Jeff Hafley, who used to be the defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers the last 2 years. And just a couple of years ago, he was the head coach of Boston College. He was tired of dealing with this NIL era because it's not like Boston College is a college football power as far as NIL. And he said, you know what? I'm going to leave my role as head coach of Boston College. Great history for that football program, not recently, but all time. And he takes that defensive coordinator job with Green Bay. And a couple of years later, he is now the new head coach of the Miami Dolphins. And with him leading the charge, Miami active on this Monday morning, February 16th. Let's start here. The Dolphins have released 8-time Pro Bowl wide receiver Tyreek Cheetah Hill. And his release is one of several being made by Miami today, also releasing Bradley Chubb, guard James Daniels, and another move which we'll get to here in just a moment. For Tyreek Hill, you think about him and how he would fit in with the Philadelphia Eagles. The thought and idea is a fun one, right? One of the most electrifying playmakers in the history of football, alongside A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. He's going to be a free agent for the first time in what has been a fantastic career. What a move that could be for Howie Roseman. But there are character concerns with Tyreek Hill and major injury concerns as well. From Miami's standpoint, they're going to save $22.8 million against the salary cap in releasing Tyreek Hill. So it's been the worst kept secret that this move was going to happen. Going back to the injuries, the character, and the age, Tyreek Hill is going to be 32 on March 1. He's recovering from a dislocated knee, torn ACL, and he suffered other torn ligaments in that knee. That's a brutal injury for a guy whose game is literally predicated and based off of speed, getting vertical, and taking the top off of the defense. Now, as I mentioned, I think he'll have some suitors. I mean, this is the first time in his 10-year career that he's going to be a free agent. But if I'm the Eagles, I'm not making this move. I do think addressing wide receiver this offseason is somewhat of a priority for the Eagles. And it all comes down to what Philadelphia does with A.J. Brown. Do they trade him? Do they keep him? I want the Eagles to keep A.J. Brown because, one, he's arguably the best wide receiver in franchise history. Two, I think Sean Mannion's offense can really bring the best out of A.J. Number three, the Eagles are competing for a Super Bowl in 2026. Trading away A.J. Brown doesn't help you get closer toward bringing home a third Lombardi trophy. I do think that Devontae Smith can be a number one wide receiver. I think that he can do everything that Jackson Smith and Jigba can do. And JSN just won Offensive Player of the Year, and he led the NFL in receiving yards. I think Smitty has been underutilized, but I always think it's better, especially in today's NFL, when you have a dynamic 1-2 punch compared to Devontae Smith and a lot of other unknowns. Now, if you trade AJ, Smitty is year one. Darius Cooper rises up the depth chart. You might draft a wide receiver in the first couple of rounds. Do you sign a Tyreek Hill? I'm still not doing that. Howie Roseman has been very vocal about having a no tolerance policy for players who have domestic violence issues or a domestic violence history. Tyreek Hill has multiple instances of getting in trouble here. So no Cheetah for Philadelphia, in my opinion. And then for Kevin Patullo, who just became the Dolphins pass game coordinator, no Tyreek Hill for Kevin Patullo either. The Dolphins are also releasing pass rusher, outside linebacker, Bradley Chubb. And this is another move that is signifying a major step toward a rebuild for Miami. And the Dolphins, a few years ago, sent a first-round pick to the Broncos in 2022 in exchange for Chubb, and then they immediately signed him to a 5-year, $110 million contract extension. He posted his second double-digit sack season with 11 sacks in 2023. Then he suffered a significant injury in his right knee in Week 17, which included a torn ACL meniscus and patellar tendon. He missed the entire 2024 season, but he did return with 8.5 sacks in 2025. He played all 17 games. He was the team captain. He won the local media's Good Guy Award for his consistent availability and professionalism with the press. You compare the character of Bradley Chubb and the character of Tyreek Hill. If the Eagles were to go after one of these players, it would be Bradley Chubb. Bradley Chubb also has familiarity with this scheme, and he has played under Vic Fangio with the Denver Broncos and with the Miami Dolphins. There was also a lot of chatter going into the NFL trade deadline that the Eagles were showing interest in Bradley Chubb. Dolphins elected to hold on to him. Then they released him in February. They could have gotten draft compensation back for him if they traded him away at the deadline. That's why they're an awful organization and they haven't won a playoff game in more than 2 decades. And of course, the Eagles, elected to not trade for Chubb. They traded for his teammate in Jalen Phillips, a younger, more dynamic, more in his prime type of player. But as you look ahead to free agency, Bradley Chubb is a player who makes a lot of sense for the Eagles. I don't think he's going to be too expensive. Let's say $10 to $13 million. The Eagles do have Jalix Hunt, Nolan Smith under contract for next year, but Brandon Graham, a free agent. Azeez Ojulari, a free agent. Josh Uche, Obu Okoronkwo, all free agents at the pass rusher spot. So it is a little bit of a need for the Eagles looking ahead to free agency, which is coming up in less than a month here. So Bradley Chubb, Tyreek Hill. 2 options here for the Eagles. If I were to make one move for Philadelphia, it would be Bradley Chubb. And the move, of course, and moves for Miami today represents that huge shift for this new regime. At the pass rusher spot, Miami traded away Jalen Phillips, now releasing Bradley Chubb. They're going to build that defense around former Penn Stater, Chop Robinson. And this is a series of moves for Miami that is going to save them a lot of money. And it makes sense that they're doing this. And Tua Tagovailoa could be next. So Tua and Tyreek Hill combined represent a $108 million cap hit for the Dolphins in 2026. If you're going to rebuild with a new regime, it doesn't make sense to have any of those players on the team. Tyreek getting released. I think Tua might be next. Now, of course, Miami would prefer to trade him, but what team is going to want to trade for Tua Tagovailoa with that contract under the current construction of it with all the injury issues? And so for Miami here, releasing Tyreek Hill, Bradley Chubb, James Daniels, and Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, that clears $66.98 million and over $56 million in 2026 cap space for Miami. One or more could be held until March 11 for additional cap savings, but that roster reset underway in Miami. And I imagine that Howie Roseman is looking at those moves and he's like, Bradley Chubb could be an option for us in free agency to bulk up the pass rush and to reunite him with defensive coordinator Vic Fangio. All right, thanks for tuning into the show. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Hope you're all having a good President's Day. If you're off today, that's fantastic. I'm technically off. I'm not at Chat Sports HQ, but we're still giving you content right here on Philadelphia Eagles. Now, might be back a little bit later with the show as well, so be on the lookout for that. And until next time, go Birds.